Hey y'all, so I'm gonna try this again. So I made a video earlier about the Jews and the Israelites, Hebrews being called that name. So I made one last night, kind of shorter, but and then I got rid of that one and made something else. So, but I kind of want to go a little bit more detail. And the one I had up earlier, I was kind of sleepy when I made it this morning. So what I wanted to do is first, I got a little bit of stuff wants to come. But first talk about um, excuse me, Genesis 14:13, and you see in that Abraham was called the Hebrew, and there was other than the names following that in the book of Hebrews, there is no other time in the Bible. Maybe for modern version is that there the name Hebrew was used, and there are a lot of first mentions in the course in Genesis, that you see. And there are a lot of first mentions throughout the Bible through certain words that the Bible first used. And so, anyway, let me get my Bible out. This is my Thompson Chain Reference Bible, um, binded leather cover. I kind of wish I got a bigger one, the large print in a way, but and the thing about it is, the thumb indexes on these, that I wish they would have made them. They don't seem to be doing that for the older 2021 versions. They only do that on the new Zondervan Bibles with a comfort print. And I don't want comfort print. I don't want this silly little comfort print. It's just obnoxious. That's my opinion, of course. So, anyway, just to get back what I'm talking about here. The first time, as I said, the first time we see the word Hebrew is used in uh, chapter 14 of Genesis, and it says on 13, it says, "And there came one that had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite, okay, brother of Ishcal, and the brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abram." So I believe that the Amorite is the one that probably named Hebron. But it's referring here not to the one that lived there. It's not saying the king one that escaped, not that he lived there, I don't think, but that Abraham lived in the plain. Abraham, the Hebrew, dwelt in the plain of Mamre, which is in Hebron, the Amorite. So anyway, it's talking about Abraham. It's not talking about the guy who escaped, because there's no back history as far as he's concerned of the person who escaped from the kings that it came from, the Kedorlaomer and all the rest of them, and Titan, king of the nations, and what have you, as far as the kings of Zor, Gomorrah, Zeboim, and Sodom, the rest of them, Admah. So it's somebody who wasn't that escaped from all that and came and told Abraham and said, "Hey, look, they kidnapped your nephew, your brother, your brethren." And this point is talking about Lot being Abraham's brethren. That doesn't mean that he's his brother. It just means that he's family, he's kindred. So anyway, he took 318 men and he went and got his stuff back, got his nephew back. So anyway, that's the first mention of the word Hebrew in chapter 14 in verse 13. So a lot of people are saying that that Hebrew came from the word Eber. Okay, so if you take your pages, if you go a couple of pages back, and you see that it was Shem, Arphaxad, and the rest of them that were born to him, they were probably likely in the Tower of Babel incident. whenever the Lord confused the languages. Those descendants of Abram did not go very far. They stayed pretty close, and some went to the Ur of the Chaldees. That's where Abraham came from with his father Terah. Him and Terah and a couple others with Lot came to Haran in Syria, or Aram, Padan Aram, and they settled there for a bit, and the Lord called them out of that from his kindred, right? And so, what was Terah at the time? Terah was he was a relocated Syrian. Here's Aramaic, Aramean rather. So it talks about Laban the Syrian, which is the grandson of Terah. Um, and so, which we know that Rachel, I believe it was the granddaughter or granddaughter, I think it was, of uh, Jacob's wife. He was a daughter of Laban. So anyway, the grandson of Terah. So he was definitely Syrian, but in any case, they were related. So I don't know what's big. God's big. God's up to. But anyway, so like I said, a lot of people say Eber is where the word Hebrew comes from. But there's a lot of Bible evidence pointing and showing that that's not the case. So anyway, okay. So when you go looking for the word Hebrew, where did it come from? And you add one plus one, what do you get? No problem, don't worry about it. You get two, right? So it says Abram the Hebrew, who lived in Hebron. And it tells us that he moved to Hebron. He was living in Hebron in the previous chapter, which you read chapter 13. And let's see here. If you go there, it says, and the food was, hold on, where am I at? Where am I at? So, I kind of missed my spot. Okay, here we go. Chapter 13, it says, and Abram, verse 12, it says, Abram dwelled in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain. That's because they split off. And pitched his tent toward Sodom. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. And the Lord said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him, lift up now thine eyes, and look from the place where thou art, northward and southward and eastward and westward. For all the land which thou seest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed, that is to say, to your seed, forever. And I will make thy seed, that's your seed, as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed also be numbered. Arise, walk through the land in the length of it and in the breadth of it, for I will give it unto thee. Then Abram, it says in verse 18, removed his tent and came and dwelt in the plain of Mamre. As we know, he went back to Bethel, between Bethel and Ai, actually, where he first built an altar to the Lord, and he left there and went down into Egypt from the famine. Then he came back and went to Bethel, and then it had him going back down to Hebron, coming to Hebron, in the plain of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and built there an altar unto the Lord. So that was the second altar, Abram's second altar. Okay. And so then we see in chapter 14, it talks about the kings and stuff like that who came down into Sodom and Gomorrah, and probably from the next door states and stuff, and all those kings were fighting with Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Zor, and all that. And so then we see verse 13 when it says, talks about Abraham Abram the Hebrew. That's the first time the word Hebrew is mentioned. And again, it's not referring, if that were the case, if it were the case where Eber, the son or grandson of Shem, were the first Hebrew, then it would have said that. It would have made the first mention there. Or it would have made the first mention with his descendants all the way down to Terah. We see in the Bible that in no place and nowhere is Terah ever called a Hebrew. His fourth great grandson. That is Eber's fourth great grandson. Okay? So he is not even called a Hebrew. And neither is his forefathers, neither are his descendants until Abraham, based on what Abraham did. Abraham moved with his father Terah and his nephew and his wife Sarai, and to Syria, or Aram, Paddan Aram, which became Syria. So anyway, that's where they moved to, and eventually Abraham separated himself out from his father's family as the Lord commanded him, and he took Lot with him, and he came down to Canaan, which would be Israel later on. And Lot went his way, Abraham went his way. Lot got himself in trouble, and Sodom and Gomorrah and what have you, and this, that, and the other. So we see what happens there. But anyway, a lot of people, just like they do with Satan being called Lucifer in Isaiah 12, was it 14:12? There in the Bible, there's no link to show or prove that Lucifer is Satan, because when you read the context like you do with this, it shows that they're talking about a Babylonian or Assyrian king. They're not talking about Satan. They're not talking about the devil, right? Because Satan is not that bold or brave to brag the way that person did. But Nebuchadnezzar is. Other people in this world are. People see, Satan knows there's a God, and he knows his time is short. And he might have taught big things in the Garden of Eden. He said, "No, you should not surely die." Because the Lord knows that, when you taste it, you will be like gods, knowing good from evil. So he duped Adam and Eve. Of course, Eve got Adam to eat the fruit. So he's not gonna go outside his boundaries, because he knows there's a creator, and he's fearfully and wonderfully made as an angel. Well, not an angel, he's probably a cherubim, and who decided to go bad. So he knows his limitations. He knows what he can say, what he can't say, even though he knows his time is short. So even at that point, I shall build my thrones above the throne of God. I shall build my so-and-so and higher than the stars of heaven and above the throne of God, and this and that and the other. That's not Satan saying that. That's a king, a really mouthy, bold king, and just kind of like Belshazzar did when his knees knocked and he saw the writing on the wall. Things of that nature. I'm not going to even answer that. I'm not going to even answer that. Can you pray, Gateway? You have a choice to be gay or not, and people don't want to hear that, but it's your choice. But anyway, I'm not even going to go there with that. It's ridiculous. But anyway, just to say again that Eber was not the one who loaned his name to the Hebrew name. The Hebrew name came from the progenitor of the Hebrews, that being Abraham. Because you see, they weren't called the Jews, they weren't called Israel or anything before Abraham. They had no name before Abraham. It was just the descendants, one descendant to another, to Abraham. Abraham's seed is what became Israel. Abraham's seed is what became the Jews. Abraham's seed are the Hebrews. So the Hebrews were referring to Abraham and his lineage, but Abraham, the Hebrew, is referring to as to where he was, in Hebron. But whenever you see in the Bible now, whenever you see in Exodus and all the other stuff, and in the book of Hebrews, that's referring to the Hebrews because they are named for Abraham. Abraham being a righteous man who believed God, and trusted in him, had faith in him. That circumcision is not of the flesh, is of the heart. Excuse me, of the heart. Oh, okay. It's of the heart. And then when you see the Israelites, that was the end result of the Hebrews, because the Hebrews are named for Abraham, and then when they come to Israel, that's referring to Abraham's son, and well, his grandson actually, which is referring to Jacob. And then when you see the Jews, that would be the tribe of Judah. But after that, when you hear the thing of the Jews, it refers to not only particular tribes like the tribe of Judah and Benjamin and probably Simeon. It refers to all people of Israel, all Hebrews or Jews, especially if they practice Judaism. And then when you look at it even further, you think, well, I'm an Israeli because I live in Israel, so therefore I'm Israel. Well, you might be Israeli, but you're not an Israelite if you came from one country to another, and if you were not born a Jew, then you are Israeli by citizenship, but you're not a Jew. See, I can move to Israel and become an Israeli American because of I'm not a Jew. But there are Israelis who are Jews, Israeli Jews. And there are Israelis who are Muslims, and there are Israelis who are this, and there are Israelis who are that. They're African or Spanish, Israeli is Spanish, Spanish Israelis, things of that nature. But that doesn't, just because you live there, doesn't make you a Jew. And we know what true Jews are. True Jews are those who love the Lord, and it's the inward man, not the outward of the flesh. Things of that nature. But anyway, I don't want to make this too long. I just want to get on here and kind of go over my video that I had earlier that I tried to remake several times. But I don't know how long it's going to take for this thing to upload. We'll see. But anyway, just wanted to share that with you. And also 2 Corinthians 11:2, and where Paul was talking about, am I not? I'm of the stock of Abraham. I'm a Hebrew. I'm a Jew, Israelite rather. And I'm of the seed of Abraham, because see, it went down to the seed of Abraham, which is the very beginning of all the Hebrews. If you call yourself a Hebrew and you're a Jew, then you're referring that you are of Abraham's seed. And so there's no indication that the word Hebrew came from Eber, a great grandson of Shem. And a lot of things say that is the case. No, they're called Hebrews because Abraham, who was the Hebrew, that's the first time the definite article of the word the Hebrew is used. 14:13, Genesis 14:13. I don't know what it says in your in your other worldly Bibles, but in your New Age Version Bibles, but I know what it says here in the Authorized Version. Anyway, just wanted to point that out real quick. And so, I'm going to get off here for now. And I'm going to go home, and I'm going to enjoy the rest of the night. I might do some sketching, might do some drawing, I don't know. I'm trying to get back into it. But my teeth are nice and clean. Well, might have a little bit of stuff in there since I ate. Alright, y'all, take care, God bless, and I hope this helps somebody. Really do. And I'm sure I'm going to get some arguments out of it. I always do. Alright, take care, God bless.